Madeleine Grauer by Jeff Moss. "I've got an earache," said Madeleine Grauer. "It's bad when it starts and gets worse by the hour. It stings in my ears and it zings in my head, and that's why I'm crying," young Madeleine said. When her family moved to a home far away, her new classmates teased her and said, "You can't play." So alone in the girls' room, she sat down and cried, and when kids wandered in, there were no place to hide. "So I've got an earache," said Madeleine Grauer, "a serious ouch, with a lot of pain power. It pings in my ear and it pongs in my head, and that's why I'm crying," young Madeleine said. When Madeleine's faithful young dog Max ran away, Madeleine's heart felt all soggy and gray. She sat in her yard and alone there she cried, but some kids passing by saw her all teary-eyed. "So I've got an earache," said Madeleine Grauer. "It stings and it dings and it makes me feel sour. It bonks in my ears and it zonks in my head, and that's why I'm crying," young Madeleine said. Well, Max wandered home after days had gone by. Madeleine was so happy she started to cry. The kids said, "An earache again, what a shame!" But this time her answer was far from the same. "No, I don't have an earache," said Madeleine Grauer. "My heart feels as big as a blossoming flower. I've never had earaches or zonks in my head. My feelings inside were hurting instead. Good ones or bad ones, your feelings can spread, and sometimes they cause all the tears that you shed. But now I'm happy as a bear who's been fed, and that's why I'm crying," young Madeleine said. This time I'm going to read Madeleine Grauer, but I'm going to be reading it a little differently. After each stanza, I'm going to look back and see what I read. I'm going to try and pull out pieces that would work together well to create a summary. So I'm going to be looking for the characters or the people. I'm going to be looking for the main events or the main ideas of the stanza, and I'm going to be looking for different places that could be the setting. "I've got an earache," said Madeleine Grauer. "It's bad when it starts and gets worse by the hour. It stings in my ear and it zings in my head, and that's why I'm crying," young Madeleine said. So in this stanza, the first thing I notice is that Madeleine Grauer, from the title, will be our main character. I also see that she apparently has a very bad headache. I don't see anything about a setting though. Also, I notice a rhyming pattern with Grauer and hour and head and said, and that's one of the main characteristics of poetry, is rhyming. It doesn't have to be in every poem, but in this poem it is a characteristic. And now we'll move on to the second stanza. When her family moved to a home far away, her new classmates teased her and said, "You can't play." So alone in the girls' room she sat down and cried, and when kids wandered in, there was no place to hide. After reading this stanza, I see that she has moved far away from her old home. She must be really lonely, especially when her new classmates make fun of her and say things like, "You can't play with us." She must be very sad, and that's evident when the speakers say that she goes into the girls' room and hides. Also, a setting is introduced, the girls' bathroom. So after reading the first two stanzas, I can see that we have at least one character, Madeleine, a setting, the girls' bathroom, and two main events or ideas. Madeleine says she's getting earaches, and she's also very lonely, and these two problems are making her cry. Now I want you to use your graphic organizer to read and list the different pieces that you could put in a summary just as I did.